Welcome to the Social Work Rants podcast, providing a platform for social workers to share their stories. The podcast covers a wide range of topics, including mental health, social justice, policy, and the day-to-day realities of the profession. This season, season 9, we'll be focusing on the mental and emotional aspects of money for people of color. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. I appreciate all the love and support. Continue to follow along the podcast on all social media outlets, on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast, on Twitter, X at Social Work Rants. Of course, the YouTube channel, hit that red subscribe button. And on Facebook, type in the Social Work Rants podcast, hit that like button. This episode is brought to you by Bass Moreno Consulting, providing financial education and counseling for those in the sandwich generation. So if you are a person caring for children 17 and under and have taken care of an elderly parent, I'm looking for you and providing a free 25-minute consultation on how mental health is affecting your finances. Go to morenoconsulting.com for more information on that. Now, my guest at this time, no stranger, we're talking about student loans today, what has happened, those regarding PSLF, waiting for discharges, and what Biden has done, what the whole government has done, and what is happening, because a lot is scheduled to be happening between now and the end of the year that we need to focus on, and our credit reports might get affected, and all this stuff. So my guest is the talented Dr. Sonia Lewis. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Thank you so much for taking out some time out of your busy schedules. I know there's a lot that's been happening, a lot going on. So
Yes.
I appreciate it. So let's get right into it. So first, I know a lot has happened these last few years, and I know with the election coming up, a lot has to do, correlates with the election, what now VP Harris is trying to do, and what she and President Biden were trying to do. Can you fill in what has happened, what made the Supreme Court decide to block the public student loan forgiveness, just everything that's happened, bring us up to speed so that us, especially in the social work profession, could kind of know what exactly is going on. The baby social workers that are going to grad school now and will be getting got to somehow pay those loans back in a few years. Like, what is happening in currently? Where are we standing right now?
Yeah, so much has happened recently. And thank you again for having me, because these dates and deadlines are really, really important, especially for someone that's in the social work field, which we consider public service. So one, thank you for your service if you're listening. And two, we want you to be compensated and rewarded for that service. So these deadlines are important. So first thing first, what we are experiencing right now as of the taping of this podcast is that the SAVE plan has been put on hold. And the SAVE plan has been put on hold simply because inside of the SAVE plan, there were a lot of components of loan forgiveness that were not approved by Congress simply. And so when you really dissect what they wanted to do with the SAVE plan, not only did they want to lower payments, but they wanted to give an element of forgiveness at the 10-year or the 20-year mark. So then when lawmakers, and particularly the Republican Party, start to scrutinize the SAVE plan, they say, hey, wait a minute. We didn't agree to this. You didn't get permission for this. And it was rolling along quite well, to be honest with you, until like the day it had to go live. And they took people out of it, and they got the Supreme Court involved. And so now there's one more layer that this has to go through to see if it could be passed through. If that layer of the Supreme Court to get rid of the SAVE plan altogether, if for some reason, now I'll tell you, we'll see what happens if for some reason the Supreme Court knocks it down for the final time. So we'll figure that out, and we'll see what's going to happen within I would say just a few weeks, we'll know better. So that's part one. But for those of you that are listening that are eligible for loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness has been around since 1965. So you're not going to have your loans not be eligible because of the SAFE plan. At best, you're going to have to choose another type of repayment plan.
Mm-hmm. Which leads to worst case scenario if Agent Orange wins in November and all this Project 2025 stuff comes into play, and the ending of potential ending of the Department of Education. What does that mean for our loans? Or are we going to see a huge spike in payments, or what is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think might happen?
Yeah, if Agent Orange gets into office, they could put repayment back at 10%, which is what it was when he was in office, or 15%, the highest. But more likely they'll go back to the 10% plan. And again, plans like borrower's defense, public service loan forgiveness wouldn't be in jeopardy right away, because that's been, again, grandfathered in since Lyndon B. Johnson. So we're not, too worried about that. It's just, could you expect massive loan forgiveness to continue to still happen? No. So if you can recall what student loans were like when Trump was in office, it would probably just go back to that. This isn't one of those things that's like heavy on his to-do list to support or destroy. It would just revert back to most likely what it was when he was in office, which is very similar to how things were when Obama was in office. So not too much of a change, but definitely no promotion. Definitely for sure, no promotion of additional forgiveness.
So somebody is in limbo and was close to the 120 payments, or I know somebody like myself that I put in all the papers and I'm waiting on that. Technically, my loans are discharged through studentaid.gov, but I'm still waiting on that letter officially to close. Like, if somebody's in limbo like that, like, what be looking out for, if anything, between now and the end of the year?
So you should reach out to the Department of Education if you're in limbo and you have the 120 months of payment. Now, if you're still gathering those 120 months of payment, then we got to pause for a second, right? We got to wait for them to finish and wrap that up. So if you're in limbo because you don't have enough payments just yet and you want to make payments, then you can contact your lender and change your repayment plan so that you can continue to collect payments towards PSLF. But if you reached your 120 months and you're just waiting for them to discharge your payments, you should contact your lender to find out that timeline. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So
okay.
I know, I know a lot of people had Mohilia, who was for me was terrible. And a lot of people I know was complaining about Mohilia. So are they still going to be the lender? Did that change who's taking over the PSLF?
Yeah, good question. Mohilia may still be the lender, but probably not for much longer. Probably would get transferred to Advantage. The Department of Education this summer took over PSLF. So everything for PSLF is no longer managed through Mohilia. You have to go to studentaid.gov to take a look at your account.
Okay, that's good information. Now would studentaid.gov and whoever the lender is going to be, should they basically you should see the same information, or like, what if you see something, or whatever the lender is might be different from what studentaid.gov? Who do you go with?
Good question. The information now is only visible through studentaid.gov. When you log into the dashboard, on the right-hand side, there's a section that's called Quick Links, and you want to click where it says Track My Progress. Everyone that is a PSLF candidate needs to go look at that ASAP. We're going to be doing some free classes in the SLD community on how to view that and what does it mean with what you're seeing, because you need to inspect and verify yourself that you actually are going to get those credits that you were supposed to have from Mohilia. Don't take for granted that Mohilia transferred everything correctly. They just got sued $7 million for incorrect procedures. So definitely, if you're listening to this, studentaid.gov, log in, quick links, track my PSLF progress. That's where you should start. You want to look at, did all your employer information come over from the years? Did all the credits match up with the loan? So it's a really nice, clean view now. So it's not too cumbersome to look at. And then from there, you can file a complaint like, hey, this is not exact or correct. This needs to be done. But you got to go first look.
That's good information. Now, with the election coming up, should like people start continuing to start seeing more discharges or cancellations of their loans, or everybody's in limbo until after election?
So there are some people right now, as the taping of this podcast, starting to receive some more forgiveness. So that's very encouraging. You know, the challenge is that the amounts of forgiveness we were looking to see, if any of that was going to happen, it would have to happen this month. But my guess is that a lot more is going to come after, if Kamala is elected. But I am seeing from our community, literally as of this week, people are receiving more loan forgiveness. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I think strategy wise, they should go on and let it rain with forgiveness to make people remember them on election day. That's a strategy. But do we know if they're really going to do that? We don't know.
Right. And it said I really haven't seen her since she started running even talk about that. I know there was a lot of talk of that while Biden was still in office, but since she took over, there was nothing during her DNC, not even a word of it. There really hasn't been anything about it. I'm like, are you still gonna do it? Are you? I know I've mentioned about Biden. Can President Biden, before he leaves office, do some sort of executive order to cancel loans, or at least start doing that, and maybe fight the Supreme Court for that?
Yeah, I mean, wait, really should go down if you left it up to me, because we know Biden's not going to be here either way. He should do an executive order, exercise the Higher Education Act of 1965. Him and Secretary Cardona sign this thing out. He can leave office. Everybody loans are forgiven. That's the option. That really is a real option for him to exercise. Now, is he probably going to do it? No. Say if Kamala doesn't get elected, let's sign it out. Let's figure, like, you know what I'm saying? But if she gets elected, I doubt he would do that. That is a real life option he could definitely exercise.
Why didn't he do that before?
Oh, I mean, because then there would be there would be time to try to undo it, and then it would block all the other things that he's trying to get done. And strategy wise, it wouldn't have been wise. But I want to revisit something you said. You know, Kamala, you're right, has not spoken on anything student loan related. I think there's another debate coming up really soon, and I watch it like on pins and needle. I need to hear her talk about student loans because, ma'am, are you carrying what was going on prior to or that you've been a part of, or we need to bring our hopes down? Because in the last debate, you saw how Trump had said to her, and Biden didn't do X, Y, and Z, and what he said was false. So I was, of
course,
waiting for her to say and stand on business and say, you know, what the numbers are. She did not. And I'm going to be honest with you, that had me really, really concerned. I'm like, man, if there was anything you could have stood on in this debate, would have been that. And that was a big missed opportunity. I that made me really, I did not like that. So yeah, we need to figure out what's going on there. So I'm hoping on this next debate,
I totally agree.
we see some changes in that conversation.
that was a big omission, and those play with words that Trump did was like
Mm-hmm.
a perfect opportunity. Like, nope, we did this. These are the numbers. These are how much people are still getting forgiven. As while we debated right now, people getting their loans forgiven, and that did not happen. And as of this recording, the VP debate is tonight as of this recording. So
Yes.
let's see if Wall says anything, or even Vance if he says anything. So there
Right.
was nothing regarding there was nothing regarding education period discussed. Forget student loans. I was like, that was a huge red flag for me.
Yeah, for sure.
um, is so let's talk about like credit reports. Like how are people's credit reports are being affected with all these different changes, or people do to check their credit to see if the government's messing up their credit credit reports.
Yeah, so as of today, October 1st, it is now to where you're going to see your credit be impacted in terms of the repayment status. So we know that it was already showing on your credit before, but now it's to the point where it will really severely impact your credit if they're not in a good place or good standing. So if you're listening to this, you want to check your credit report and you want to discover what is and what isn't showing. Because we also need to make sure that they're reporting things correctly and not reporting things 20 times over. Like we found out with one client, her same loan was reporting 4 times. So if you understand how credit works, it looked like her utilization was up. Like she was,
Mm.
4 additional student loans. So we had to help her get that worked out because she did want to, I think she was trying to buy a car, if I'm not mistaken. And it just looked like she had more student loans than she really did. So yeah, that's a big thing right now. We want to put that to people's attention for sure.
How can people work with you? Let's talk about backtrack, like your business, how long you've been doing this,
Yeah.
how you helping folks with their student loans.
Yeah, God is good. We've been in business now going on 8 years. Going on 9 years, excuse me. We're in 8 years now. We're going on 9 years. And it never gets old to me. Somebody said, why don't you ever get tired or and I'm like, because there's so many new borrowers, so many new people we interact with. It's a new problem to solve every day. So we don't get tired or burnt out by it. What makes me tired, burnt out is what's going on with Biden's administration every 10 seconds, them dropping something new, but it's a good tired. But yeah, so we've been around for a while. We're doing great work and working side by side, social media wise with the Biden administration, Secretary Cardona, he did this really nice edification. He's like, I love the SLD tribe. He said, I come on and look at what you post. You're posting good stuff. Y'all need to get in the tribe. And I thought that was just so nice for him to say because he don't have to say that. And I really just
Right, of course.
yeah, and I'm just really grateful that I have a solid team. My team has been with me for years. And it's just rewarding because some of the people that started with us, to see them experience massive loan forgiveness, they've been on every Zoom, watched the replay, had the appointments, did everything they were supposed to do. So when they got their forgiveness, we took that person and we celebrated with them. Because I know what it's like to have that client on Zoom, on the phone, stressed out, and then to see them get 100, 200. One client we were stressed out for, he was a surgeon and his 2 kids became surgeons. He owed $800,000.
Mm.
We got him forgiven. So
Oh
just
wow.
sometimes a strategy, a conversation needs to be had because you think you might know everything about your loans or you think you might be doing the right thing, but the reality is you're not. And I can stand on that and say that because sometimes we have one call with a person and then they can fix it. oh, I didn't know. Let me go and then they fix it. So yeah, I'm just telling people in this season, definitely work with us. Just have that one call to see what it is or what it isn't, and then go from there. And then those that are listening to your podcast that are in the social work field, they can still get back credit. So from October 2007 to October 2022, you can get back credit for public service loan forgiveness through the TEPSLF program. Big deal. And then you can get current credit if you're working in that field now for a qualified employer. So if you're listening, that sounds like you're like, I've been working in the field, I don't get no credit. You can still, because people think the deadline's going, they got to get with us because the deadline will be going if Kamala is not reelected. So we don't have much time to get this stuff done.
Yeah, so that's good to know. Especially they keep updating the forms too. So
it's a new form every
new
couple
form.
of months. Yeah, for sure. That's funny.
Especially there's a lot of job hoppers like myself, and got to contact old employers and go through like social media trying to find people to get the form signed, and it's like, I need this form signed. Come on.
Well, now they got it a little easier. You can use your tax return, your W-2s. They kind of cleaned up the process because they know that it is hard to reach some employers. So we can help with that because it's now cleaned up a bit more than when it first came out. So when it first came out, so we had to tell people that were originally denied or discouraged, like, listen, this is what you could do. And they were really happy about that.
Oh, that's good that it got cleaned up. Because I'm like, you already have our social security numbers. We file taxes, or you should. And like, why you can't just use that to
Yeah,
go? It just didn't make sense.
for sure.
So how can people work with you and like all the great work
Yeah.
that you're doing?
Well, what I'll tell you is in this season, we've allocated and if anybody's interested, they could reach out, but we now have 250 partners nationwide and we're growing every day. We train people to do the work we're doing. So if anybody's interested in help, they can have a free call with one of our trusted partners to see what they need to be doing with their student loans. Our team does some calls, very, very limited. We're actually going to be not doing calls in the next few months. So I can always send you a link to put in the show notes to just get a free call, see how we can help. And it may be a good fit and maybe not. But if you know you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, I have not applied for my loan forgiveness, my public service credit, I used to work in that field since, you gotta get on this call. It's like not even an option because you're leaving credit, which is AKA money on the table, and nobody's gonna knock on your door. And if they call you, hang up, it's a scam. So you got to know this information for yourself. If you're going to be in a field like social work, you gotta get some benefits out of it. It's just like those that are teachers. My mom and grandma,
Exactly.
my aunts were teachers for years. Them kids is bad. You got to get your loans forgiven. So, that's why I said we don't take the work that you all do as social workers. So you got to get some support.
No, that's great. That all the great stuff that you're been doing, continue to do to help just anybody with their student loans, and social workers get those forms in, and there's still
Yeah.
time. Is from '07 to 22. That's a lot of years that you could be
You could
close
be done in 60
to being
days if you
done.
got those years. Yes. We've seen it many a times. It is very possible.
Especially us seasoned social workers. You know, we've done a lot of nonprofit stuff. Like can get those forms in. So
Yes.
it's important. Where where can people find you? They want to.
I say Instagram is where most of the fun is. We do a lot of lives. We do classes through Instagram. The student loan doctor, all spelled out, the student loan doctor. We have a presence on Facebook. We have a podcast. that we're rebooting. But if you're in our community or you sign up for our email list, you can be subscribed to what we call our audio newsletter. They go out a couple of times a month where I give you a less than 10-minute verbal update of what's going on. So it's just like, oh, let me play this really quickly and hear what's happening. So we just want to give you bite-sized pieces of information. But I know if they're connected to you, they'll be fine. Whatever you need to put in the show notes of this, or when you send it out, we'll get you, because we just want people to be informed and empowered. If you're informed and empowered in this season, I'm going to say congratulations in advance for some loan forgiveness. It's very possible. Don't tell yourself it's not possible. Just the amount of forgiveness we've seen in our community is just outstanding. And we want you to be a part of that number. So I really, really appreciate you having me on. Because the reality of it is if we don't have conversations like this, people
No, thank you so much for coming
yeah,
on.
they don't think it's possible. So I always love doing podcasts, especially with niche-based communities like yours, because like I'm telling you, that form won't get done. I hope they let you know. And it gets done, and in 60 days, somebody's forgiven. That's a different type of freedom you're helping people with.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I know we're trying to talk about just money in general in our profession doesn't really get talked about, and with our credit, like we're trying to like all that is important and needs to be talked about. There's a lot of social work entrepreneurs with their businesses, and you need funding for your money, and instead of money going into paying student loans, could go right into funding your business and do things that you really want to do. So we have to have these conversations.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I'm excited. You have to keep me posted, your community. Let them know, let us know that they were sent over by you. And we're going to be really deep diving more into public service loan forgiveness coming up, because that's the program that I don't expect to have many rifts or changes. And we want to see more people get forgiven with that program.
Absolutely. Dr. Lewis, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Have a good rest of the day.